Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to East Carolina University. This is Pirate Parents Live. We are actually celebrating our one-year anniversary of this award-winning program, and we're happy that you joined us today. We are talking about a very important topic to our incoming parents and our incoming students, and that is orientation. We're just a couple of weeks away if you're watching this live, and we're excited about you coming to our campus. We've got a wonderful panel of folks that are here today, and we're going to be answering your questions. My name is Chris Stansbury. I'm going to be moderating today's conversation. If you're watching on Facebook Live and you're watching the live version of this, feel free to type any questions or comments that you're looking for. You want us to ask the panel, put them in the comment box, and we'll absolutely pose them to the panel as much as we can throughout the course of the next 30 to 45 minutes or so. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the panel, and then we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to start right here on this end. This is Jeremiah McCoy. He's from Chesapeake, Virginia. He recently graduated from East Carolina University, yes indeed. He was also, when he was here in OA in 2015, that's an orientation assistant. So for those of you that are coming, you're going to get to know your OAs very well at orientation. And he is returning and he's part of the orientation staff. Beside Jeremiah, we have Corey Schwabaugh. She is the assistant director, also student transition. She's responsible for our first year programming efforts. She's been with ECU since October of 2016. Dr. Stephen Asby, he's the Associate Director in Academic Advising and Support Center. He serves as the administrator and academic advisor for various student populations. Stephen is somebody you will definitely want to get to know. He will help you navigate through your hopefully only 4 years here at ECU. He's been here for 10 years. Beside him, we have Lauren Thorne. She's the Associate Dean in the Dean of Students Office. She's been at ECU for 6 years now. Aaron Lucier, he is our veteran in the group. He is 24th orientation at ECU is coming up this summer. Aaron is the Director of Housing Operations, so if you have questions about campus living and housing, he will be the one that we pose those questions to. And definitely last but not least is Emily Lynn Adkins. She's the Assistant Director for Parent and Family Programs, somebody that all of you parents and families should get to know. Come see her at orientation. She's an ECU alum and has been at the university since 2009. So that's our esteemed panel. Let's go ahead and get going. I'm going to start it off with a relatively simple question, but I think it's one that folks gives them a little bit of perspective on your area and why we're talking about today. So Emily Lynn, I'll start right back with you. Okay. As we come up on orientation, talk about how orientation impacts your area. Remind folks your area and then kind of tell us what orientation means in your office.
Sure. So I am with the Office of Parent and Family Programs, and our job is to welcome and communicate, connect, and inform our parents and families at ECU. And that includes not just parents, but grandparents, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters. We include the whole family in that aspect. And so especially during orientation, we're here to help engage you with the university, kind of as an introduction to what Pirate Nation life is like, because you too are a part of Pirate Nation now. It's not just your student, it's the whole family. So we're excited that we'll be able to engage through different ways throughout orientation. We'll have presentations, we'll have a special event just for families, just for parents on the evening of the first day of orientation. So we're really looking forward to working and meeting our parents.
Aaron?
Well, I think you've already started to get to know us. So if you've been on campus for the Admitted Students Day or an open house day, but this is your opportunity to start to get to know us a little deeper. So come with your questions, come with what you need to know. But also remember that there's going to be other opportunities for us to give you information. So housing will not have room assignments out for most students that are going to orientation. So you're going to get your room assignment after your time here. So ask general questions, but then as room assignments go out in early July, we're going to provide a lot more information to you. So it's going to be, orientation is going to be a chance to learn a little bit more, but we're not going to throw everything at you at that one moment.
I think for the Dean of Students Office, it's a lot about kind of reflecting on the trends of the previous year and making sure that our messaging and our access to services are available for the incoming students. And so our unit includes counseling centers, student health, the Dean of Students Office, disability support, and the Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities. And all of those together are a really great overview of all the support services that are available for students. So we use orientation as an opportunity to get to know the incoming class. We want them to know about us and know how to access us. and to make sure that they feel comfortable and confident, particularly with parents, knowing that those services are there and that their students are well taken care of and have access to those when they need them.
Steve?
So on the academic advising side, the first piece, we have two pieces. First piece is going to be peer. It opens today at 3:30. We're really excited about students beginning, I stress, beginning their first semester schedule. The peer website is loaded with information on exploring majors and what courses students should take. As long as students have signed up for new student orientation, today at 3:30, the holds will be lifted and students are able to start creating their schedule. Once students come to orientation, they are going to have opportunities to continue to explore majors, continue to work on their schedule, talk to advisors, and try to get a little bit more of a directional approach. We love questions at orientation, and typically students that have created a schedule, and even if it's 12 hours and they're waiting to get that 15th, 16th hour, which is ideal, orientation gives that opportunity to connect with advisors, and we love parents to be involved and truly get a chance to connect in all ways. Orientation is a great opportunity for advisors to really start our journey together. Corey?
For the Office of Student Transitions, we handle the logistics of orientation, so putting everything together. So we connect with all these individuals here at the table and more outside the room. We're really excited to see our parents and students when they come for orientation in just a couple of weeks. So I think for us parents to get ready for orientation, come with your questions. Be prepared to be overwhelmed with information because we will give you a lot of information and it will seem overwhelming and a lot to take in and handle, but that's okay. That's what we're here for. Our job doesn't end after orientation is over and the session is done. We are here for you and your student throughout their time here at ECU, so we're happy to help you and connect you where you need to be. And just be prepared to have a good time, to get to know our staff, our administrators, some of our faculty, and our amazing student leaders who will be here to lead you as well.
One of our amazing student leaders, now a graduate, but it wasn't that long ago, Jeremiah, before you were in this spot. Talk about it as kind of two sides. One as a student coming in, and a little bit about that, and then as an orientation assistant, how that engagement with new students will be.
Absolutely. So I do remember back to coming in as a first-year student, and like many of them have already said, orientation was a great time for me to ask those questions. Myself and my mom asked those questions about when do I get my campus living contract? What is the Dean of Students office? What do all these offices that they've all talked about? What can they provide for me to make sure that I'm happy and comfortable here? It was a great time for me to meet students and feel, again, just more comfortable with the choice at ECU as my future home. And then as an orientation assistant, it's a great opportunity for me to meet with those students and help them feel, again, just comfortable with where they're going to be, ask any questions or answer any questions that they may have. Let them get familiar with the technology that they're going to use, just all the differences that college is compared to high school.
So a couple of things for parents and families listening. Again, you can put your questions or comments in the box and we'll pose it to the panel. We don't air condition the outside, so it's going to be hot in the summertime. Come with comfortable shoes. Come ready to walk around campus. There's a lot of other things that we'll talk about too, but it will be warm in June in Eastern North Carolina.
It's probably a good idea to bring an umbrella because
Yes.
ECU stands for everyone carries.
Everyone carries umbrellas. You'll probably have sunglasses and umbrellas throughout the day, and that's just the way we work. So Corey, Jeremiah talked about the OAs. Talk about what an incoming first-year student that's coming to orientation, who is an OA, and what is their role when they come in? They're really going to be kind of that peer leader for that group.
Absolutely. So we hire orientation assistants from anywhere from freshman students to seniors, whoever's going to be here in the fall. So they have kind of that continuing face to see when they come back in the fall. They know who they'll be looking at. And so we have a bunch of sophomores, juniors, and seniors who will be orientation assistants with us this summer. They're from a variety of different majors. And so if your student is in that major, we will connect you with that OA, even if they're not assigned to that small group, and we'll say, hey, go and talk to Juan. He is a Hispanic studies major as well, and he can tell you about that major and what it's like and that kind of thing. But the OAs are also there, like Jeremiah said, to answer questions. So if a student has a question, they will have a chance to meet in a small group with the orientation assistants and ask those questions that they have. They will learn to meet other people. We ask them to step out of their comfort zone a little bit and kind of get involved in maybe those corny little icebreaker games that everybody hates to play, but ultimately has a really good time with. And if you ask any of the orientation assistants, they'll say they'll come back in the fall and they'll be like, oh yeah, there's Macaroni Mike and there's Jolly Jeremiah. So they remember that kind of stuff, and it kind of helps break the ice and lets them get to know one another. But they also have some time with you as parents to go to sessions and learn information. So part of the time with orientation, your student will be with an orientation assistant, and part of the time they will be with you as their parents. So you guys can kind of connect, talk about what you've learned during the day when you were separated, and then things that you still need to know while you're there. And then again, the orientation assistants and the professional staff are there to answer your questions and make sure that you're feeling good about ECU.
Emily Lynn, Corey touched a little bit on that. Some of the sessions are together, some of them are apart. Talk a little bit about the reasoning for why we kind of go at that approach here at ECU and what's the intentionality with that.
Yeah, so it's time for you as parents to start embracing this new role of parenting a college student, because it is different than parenting your high school student or middle school student. So we try to help you in that transition by creating a parent track, the parent family track, where you can start to explore some resources and information on your own and allow your student that time as well with their small groups, with their OAs, with their peers, to explore things on their own. And then it really helps you both to come back together at the end and have a conversation about, hey, I learned about this. What did you think about this session? And what was the most interesting thing that you learned about while we were here? Because like Corey mentioned at the top, you will be completely overwhelmed with information. There's a lot to dissect. And so I really think that ride home after orientation is crucial, because it allows you to start to have these conversations with your student and talk about some of your expectations and kind of start laying the groundwork for them to become a college student and start to make that transition now.
So Aaron and Stephen, coming your way with this, Emily Lynn talked about the separation. And one of our goals with incoming students is some of them aren't very good at standing on their own right away. Some of them are very good at it. So we have a variety of students at different levels with that. From a campus living and an advising perspective, talk about how much you want the student to take the lead on understanding their home environment, understanding their registration and advising process. Talk about that dynamic between the student taking a role and the parent kind of being supportive.
Well, we want parents to be involved, of course, and that is an important role. But the main thing is the student has primary responsibility. And so the student might relinquish some of that responsibility to their parent, but that's somewhat the parent and the student negotiating that. So I think a conversation about, mom and dad got the finances taken care of this year, but we're going to have you take over taking care of your class registration. You're going to make choices like that, but we'll take care of the finances this year, and next year we'll have you looped in, or have a plan for that and how that transition is going to occur. Housing, campus living, and dining, our programs here are going to assume that the primary contact is the student. So we're going to send emails to the student's East Carolina email account, not their funny little Yahoo account, whatever the wacky name is for that. We're going to send it to their primary ECU account that we provided to them, and that is going to be our primary communication. If you have a question about what's going on in housing or where we are in our cycle, the first question I would ask that person to is your student. Have you gotten an email about this? The second question is call our office and we'll be happy to talk to you about it. But the first question is, has your student probably already received some of this information?
Stephen?
So on the academic side, exactly the same. We want students to absolutely take ownership of their ECU email address. That is going to be how financial aid connects with them. That's going to be how advisors connect with them. That's every single item at the university will be delivered to them. Wait list is a great example. If a student does not maintain their email, they might put themselves on a wait list and get 24 hours to accept a seat if offered. If they miss that seat, it's gone. It's going to go to the next student, and they're not moved. They're off the wait list. They have to go back in and put them on. That's usually the first tough lesson is the wait list. But we want parents to be involved, and especially today at 3:30 when registration begins, we want that initial schedule to be from the student. The student's going to know if they're a morning person. The student's going to know if they need to put a class on a Monday night. If they watch Monday Night Football in the fall, that might be a problem. They're making choices on the schedule. We want students to have that ownership up front. Many parents want to help them get started, absolutely. But you don't want to help them by doing it for them, not letting them be an advocate, because once they get here, they're not going to have that. And it's really tough for students in that first semester to kind of go, I don't even know why I'm in this class. And frequently it's, oh, I think my mom or dad put me in this class and I don't even need it. We want to try to start that process today. We want to begin that process of scheduling. Parents, please help your student know if they're a morning person or not. Remind them, absolutely. But when it comes down to it, the students need to be the one who are adding and dropping courses, because that's how they're going to register for classes throughout the 4 years they're here. And with peer, we have guidelines and we have suggestions, and there will be students that come in with AP credit and come in with dual enrollment credit. Those are going to be complicated situations. What students can do if they have questions is through peer, there's a contact us icon. If they click that icon, they can put in their intended major and their questions will be routed directly to the advising area responsible for that major. And so that's something that we want to capitalize on, is that using peer is awesome. It's going to get things started and it's going to get students and parents the answers that they need.
So real quick, Stephen, if they're hearing peer, where do they find that? Where do they go? And Emily McLamb's here and she's kind of monitoring. We can put up and share that information.
Absolutely. So it's going to be www.ecu.edu/peer, just like a pier on a river. And what you're going to see are different ports set up. Those ports are going to give students information about signing up for orientation, which is very, very important. Yes, very important. Then they're going to get information about how to register for classes and what classes to register for based on their major. And what students are going to find is every major is different. Every major has a 4-year plan. Every major has a 4-year plan. Every major has a 4-year plan. If you want to stay on track for that 4-year plan, you have to follow that. And some are going to be very strict. Some are going to be a little bit more flexible. It's important for students to think about these things. That's not pressuring a student to choose a major that they don't want to be in because they're scared.
Yep.
We have advisors that work with undecided students. We love undecided students. But you kind of have to think about, do I want to start in a major or do I want to start undecided? And kind of have almost that commitment, because it's really tough and people will see this. Majors will restrict their classes based on who is in their major and who is not. And if those students have those errors, sometimes the only way to get around that is to truly say, I want to be major X. And then that's going to allow that student the permissions in our banner registration system. Many classes are not going to be restricted and students can explore, but what we try to capitalize upon is open house and Pirates Aboard, peer, orientation. So by the fall semester starting, students have had multiple connections to their major, ideas that they're having, and even sessions and emails and texts that have gone out to promote the resources that we have to help students choose majors.
So Lauren, one of the areas you mentioned to the Dean of Students is counseling. I'm going to put your counseling hat on real quick for this. And we're talking about having difficult conversations before you come, having them after you leave, between the parent and the incoming student. Talk about the need for it was mentioned, I think, by Stephen, understanding your student and who they are, he or she, whether they're a morning. Why is it important to understand whether they're a morning person? Why is it important to understand what their eating habits are? Why is that so important from a counselor side? What does that help the student and the family member?
So, I mean, I think it's acknowledging that the student is in a time of transition. There are going to be new routines, new patterns that they try and follow, and knowing kind of your students' innate preferences and working to capitalize those is going to help to create some stability in an otherwise like pretty chaotic time of just adjustment and trying to figure out, where's my group of friends, who am I going to hang out with, where do I eat in the dining hall. And so having a general idea of kind of this is what's worked for me in the past, so I'm going to stick with this as long as I can until I figure out what makes the most sense in sort of this new setting, I think a lot of times can allow the student to feel at least a sense of control and sort of some stability in the moment. As parents, you have worked with your student for the last 17, 18 years, you know them the best, you know them inside and out, and we never doubt that. And so when we talk with parents who are coming through the parent track and attending the presentations and things like that, we encourage them to continue to be an advocate for their student, because certainly that's what your role is. But we also want, as professional staff, the ability to take on some shared responsibility with the student, and to allow them to see that in our experience of working in higher education and seeing multiple groups or graduating classes come through, we also have an idea of what has been successful in the past, and a lot of times it's easy to let some of the professionals step in and have some of those hard conversations or lead some of the difficult discussions that need to happen. And I think particularly in the counseling center and the dean of students, even over in student health, being able to acknowledge that we all have a great deal of professional background and experience with this, allow us to be there for the consultations, and certainly if it's something where we can step in and help out, we're more than happy to do so.
So a lot of us have kids. Full disclosure, I have a teenager. Jeremiah, coming your way. Talking to a teenager sometimes, we don't always as parents get the most information. How's it going, buddy? Good. And so opening the door to those conversations. So I'm going to ask you, as somebody that wasn't that long ago a first-time student, give me some things that maybe you can give advice to these incoming students. What helped you navigate orientation and take the most out of it? Because it is a lot of information coming in.
Sure. So I think the number one thing that I wish I would have done is just allow myself to have a little more grace with the situation. So when I came in from high school, I thought I knew it all. I was like, well, sure, I graduated with 80 people and this school has 29,000, but I got it. I'll be able to handle it. And that's not the case. And I think being okay with it is the most important thing for students and family members to know while they're in orientation. Because when I got here, I said, well, I had to be at school every morning at 8 o'clock in the morning, so I can take all 8 a.m. classes. But that wasn't the case, because in college, you're getting to know new people, and they're your friends, and you want to hang out with them until past the hours that your mom and dad have set for you in your house. So those things are important to know, as well as if I have questions for my advisor and things like that, a little more grace as far as not thinking, again, just that I know it all. What happens if I take this class or this class in this order? What will happen if I decide not to take this class at all? Will I still graduate? And the answer to that is no, and you won't know those things unless you ask. So again, like I said, just allowing yourself a little bit of grace to understand that it is okay to not know everything, and at orientation is a great place to utilize all these resources, because it's uncommon to have them all in one area at the same time.
So I want to pose, so we've gotten a couple questions coming in on Facebook Live. We're going to pose just real quick as we'll keep the questions going. Aaron, for you, a campus living question. If somebody has paid early or in the process, would they have gotten a room assignment yet, or will that all of it come in July?
Okay, some students that are not in living learning programs have been invited to do early room selection. Those are folks that did sign up for housing in October, November, December, we'll probably get into January, February, and we'll allow some students to do a tentative room assignment. That means they are placed a specific room in a specific building. That's a tentative hold on that. In some cases, we do need to switch the room around. We don't need to switch the building necessarily, but we do switch those. But the rest of the students, and also the students in the living learning programs, because if they're in a living learning program, they know which building they're going to be in already. So, and if they have a question about that, they can call our office. We can tell them if they've been approved for that program, that's the building they're going to be in. So they know that. So some folks know where they're living already. The rest of the folks, when we do room assignments, those will go out in early July. Now, people ask why so late. There's a number of reasons. We want to be able to get all the cancellations out there. We want to be able to give the student the best room assignment we can at the time. And so people cancel, people switch and change plans, people decide to live off campus with their families, whatever reason. We want to take all those folks out before we do the big bulk assignment and do the best room assignment we can. So that's why it goes out in early July. I saw a question about parking permits. Parking permits go after housing. So parking will be available. They'll get emails about that. Once again, they'll get those important emails about selecting a parking pass in July after room assignments go out, because those parking decisions are based often about where they are placed on campus. So certain parking is reserved for those on West End and Central, and certain parking is reserved for those on College Hill. So we can't do parking until we get through room assignments, and that's where we're at.
So I can hear somebody right now who's registered maybe for an early July orientation session.
Yeah.
Going, wait a minute, am I gonna not get a room assignment because I'm not coming to a later one? The answer to that is no, that's not a
No.
concern, right?
Orientation signups are different than the housing signups. The housing signups are generally done by the order that we receive the contract, with a few exceptions. The students of living learning programs are placed, of course, in their living learning programs, and other preferences may change where you're going to be, but basically it's either a program or a preference is going to place you into the building that you're getting placed in.
Great, thank you. Corey, talk about, we've obviously talked about the folks that are here have sessions and opportunities throughout. Let's talk about some of the opportunities that parents and students, what are the groups that are not here? I know athletics, police, what are some of the other topics and presentations that parents and students will have the opportunity to kind of go about?
Sure. They will hear from the campus store, so Dowdy Bookstore, talking about how to rent textbooks and buy textbooks, and the technology that's offered within the campus store and how to best save some money. They'll hear from our staff about computer requirements and recommendations and what's best for your student and what's best for their major and what technology they need to get. We have a session about how to support your first generation student. So if your student is a first generation college student and you'd like to figure out how to best support them, we have somebody that will talk to you about that and give you information about that. Campus safety and campus police will be there to talk. They do 2 sessions, as does student health. They also will do 2 sessions. Parking and transportation will also have a session. Financial aid and the cashier's office has a couple of different sessions throughout the 2 days of orientation. So we know you have lots of financial aid questions and money questions, how I'm going to pay that tuition bill. So we offer a couple of sessions where you can ask those questions and get those questions answered.
Can you talk about too, that we've gone kind of away from having a big booklet where they can look through, kind of talk about the electronic engagement opportunity that people coming to have?
Sure. So we have an app called Guidebook that we go through, and we have our own app in Guidebook. So if you actually go to your Google Play Store or your Apple Store, you can download ECU Guides. And once you download ECU Guides, you can download Orientation and Pirate Weeks of Welcome, and that's our guide that will give you everything you need at your fingertips. So starting June 1st, we'll have the full schedule of orientation on that guide available to you. You will also get a hard copy when you arrive at orientation, but in the past, people have said they'd like to know what they're coming into before they arrive so they can make plans about what they want to see and what they want to go to. So we're hoping that by having that up by June 1st, parents and students can decide kind of a plan of action of how to tackle orientation. We also have campus resources on that guide as well. So if you have questions about any of the offices here or offices that aren't here, you can jump on there and have their contact information. We introduce you to the orientation assistants as well on that guide. And just other bits and pieces of information that'll be easy to have. So in case, you set down your schedule at orientation, you misplace it, it'll be right there on your phone for you to grab.
Lauren, coming back to you, another opportunity that folks have, one is not in your area, but everybody wants to know about the Student Pirate Club. So they always want to learn about that. Athletics will definitely be involved, and we're glad to always support the athletic side of the house. Another one is if our growing population for people that need accommodations. Disability support is in the Dean of Students area. Talk about it. This would be the time for somebody to come and engage and have that conversation at orientation, right?
Yes, it's a great opportunity. A lot of times we will get questions about carrying over accommodations from IEP or 504 plans from high school. And so having recent up-to-date testing and then being able to bring that paperwork, we've got several disability support staff members who will be involved at orientation. Majority of you will meet Mr. Stephen Gray, and you will not forget him. And he is one of the director of student services over there. And so they will have times where you can go in and meet with the disability support staff members, as well as they'll give you information about how to fax over that paperwork so that the student can go ahead and get registered with their office and be able to have those accommodations on file beginning at the beginning of the school year. And they'll be able to share more about their testing facilities, about the communications that they do with professors. It's a great way to get an overview of the different services that are available for your students.
Emily, oh, good.
If they have something related to a special request for housing, that probably should have been in by now, but sooner is always going to be better. So do not wait to orientation. If you have a specific need for a disability or a special need for housing, that needs to be communicated to the disability support services very soon. Really probably should have already been communicated, but sooner is always going to be better, because once again, that affects the housing assignment, or could affect the housing assignment in some cases.
And if you're not sure where to go, Emily McLean will put this up on the comment box, but ECU EDU accessibility is pretty much the easiest way to go and find that. You'll find disability support services and a variety of other options that are available for you. Emily Lynn, coming your way. You've been here for a few years. You've now gone through a couple of these with, or at least another one with orientation. Give me some tips for the parents to not pull their hair out and not fight with their kids. And we see it all, right? I mean, you see everything from tears of happiness to tears of anger and everything in between from all sides. So give me some navigating orientation tips from a parent's side.
Sure. Well, it's always fun when we open up our first session, we ask, who is ready to drop off your student right now? And there's some that are like, me please, here. But I think it's important to go ahead and start, like I said, embrace that role of becoming a parent to a new student. And so I think it's important for you to kind of just soak it all in like a sponge, take in all the information, pick up every handout you can, put it in your bag. You'll get a bag when you get here. And so that way, as you go home, you can sift through all the information. It's a lot. And so you don't want to take it and just try to like cram it all in one day. But we see everything from parents taking screenshots of presentations, which the presentations will be available after orientation as well, to, taking just, pictures of anything that they can, and just do whatever you have to do and then sift through it later. I think you have some time before August, before move-in, that you can start to, go through the information, start writing notes and making contacts, calling people that you might need to get in touch with, or talking to your student about certain situations and certain expectations. So I think that's probably my number one tip.
I know for professionally, a lot of us, when we go to conferences, I'll do that. I'll get the schedule, and 2 or 3 days beforehand, I pick the sessions that I want to do. And then the night before, I go through and I finalize that, because there's a lot going on. You go, you capture everything, you want to talk to somebody, and then you're off again.
Right.
And so kind of building that plan in your head, I think, is very helpful. Jeremiah, do you want to jump in there?
Yeah, for sure. Thinking back to right before I got to college, exactly what Emily said, it is a time where, as parents, I do remember when my mom was like, what are you doing? Why aren't you telling me these things? And it's because I didn't know. So I think if you are one of those parents out there that are thinking, why hasn't Johnny or why hasn't Susie told me that this had to be paid then, or I should have submitted this contract then, or I have to pay this money next week. It's okay, you're not the only one. But as a high school senior, our mindset still sometimes can be, I have to hang on to these last bit of moments with my friends that I've been with for 4 years. And that can be hard for us as well. I'm saying us, but that's not me. When I was there,
Still.
so it is overwhelming for us as well. And those are also times for us to have our banquets, our sports banquets, our, again, things that make high school special to what it is. Prom even is this time of year for high school students. So just keep that in mind too, that the students aren't purposefully, hopefully, not trying to make you want to pull your hair out. But again, just keeping that in mind too.
I think, Lauren, too, it's important that and it doesn't always come out this way, but to create that unified front as you come in, like the parents and the students, it's a very short step before nerves, excitement, lack of information, as Jeremiah said. A lot of that quickly, we see parents that come in hugging, going out, punching.
Right. Well, and it's a challenging time. Like, we have you up late into the night. It's hot. People are tired. They're hungry. Like, I mean, we're asking you to really throw yourself into this experience. And then any type of kind of uncertainty or, you know, minimal conflict that you had coming in, unfortunately gets exacerbated. You know, like, I think about, like, when you go to a theme park and it's supposed to be all fun and games, and then inevitably somewhere in the middle of the day there's a meltdown, right?
Yeah.
Because we're hot, we're waiting in lines, there's, you know, we're on our feet the whole time, and the food is maybe, you know, just not exactly what we would have picked out, or whatever the case may be. So, I think if you go into it with the expectation, like, there are going to be those tense moments, there are going to be those times where you're like, I need to take a step back from this situation and go over here and get a drink of water, you know, find some air conditioning before I say something that I shouldn't, you know. I think that helps to just kind of normalize, like, it's a hard time. There are a lot of emotions running high. Students are excited to be there, but they're also scared to death. You're excited to kind of encounter this, but it's also leaving your baby, and, you know, I mean, it's just so many things going on. So I think if you come into it knowing there are going to be those really frustrating, overwhelming moments, and that's just kind of part of the process, it prepares you really well for move-in day. That's another great day where, you know, everything just kind of comes in one full force. And just knowing that there are those of us who are outside the situation that can hopefully help diffuse the moment. You know, we will whisk your student away to an activity. We will take you over here to get, you know, a cold drink, and hopefully be able to kind of ease everyone's nerves.
And Pirate Parents Live will be, when we get closer to move in, we'll help you navigate.
Yes,
There's
yes.
a whole separate program
That's a
that
whole.
we got that one covered. So
Get
your
to
focus on
orientation
orientation will get you
first.
moved in a little bit.
Safely to orient. But I got one thing too, and I know this because I had 5 brothers and sisters. Each student is going to handle the transition to college differently.
Yeah.
So even if you've had a student go to college and you're like, this one is not doing it the same way, they're not going to do it the same way. The other part about that too is, for yourself, even if you know somebody, you have they have an older sibling that went to ECU, remember that ECU changes as well. So don't make the assumption that the due dates have not changed, or that something is not different. We update things all the time. I mean, as a professional here, I have to really work sometimes. When did we do that? Oh, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Oops. You know, I didn't know that, but, you know, you got to keep things going on and up to date. So, and I always kid about with the parents. We were kidding about this before we start. Parents were like, well, we didn't do this when I went to ECU, we didn't do it this way. And I'm like, we've invented the internet since that time. So, you know, we've built buildings, we've raised the number of students, we're doing an expansion on the stadium. We've done some things since you've left, and they're good things. So things have changed, and that's a good thing.
So Stephen, I have 2 that are coming your way. One, I feel very confident you're going to have. The other one, I at least know where you're going to point me.
All right.
If you don't know it, you're going to point me in the right way. These are questions that have come in, so if you have them, go ahead and put them in the comment box. The first one is, how do you change your major for registration?
Oh, very easy, very easy. If you go to Peer, under Port 2, there's going to be a portion of text that tells students exactly what to do. That has to be sent from their ECU, has to be ECU email. It can't be BieberFever@gmail. It has to be their ECU
That's just
email.
Well, that's your case. So anyways.
Just a random example you
Yeah.
came up with.
And
Never heard of
they'll send it to advising@ecu.edu. We'll be able to assist that student. If students are wanting to change majors, they need to do that sooner rather than later. We recommend that students truly think about it. You know, we don't want, I want to change, I want to change, I want to change, I want to change. If you're not ready to change, you know, chill out, you can. But with it being registration time, there are going to be reasons why students in one major would not be able to register for courses in another major. And so if a student does deem it appropriate that they want to change their major, they can send that email to advising@ecu.edu, and the exact steps, which are include their banner ID, include the actual major, and it needs to be a major that ECU offers And that's something that people laugh about frequently, but we won't know if it's a major that is somewhere else that a student has thought they were signing up for. And so we can ask them for clarification, but many majors have concentration areas as well, business being one of them. So if it's going to be accounting or finance, let us know which one it's going to be. The process is pretty easy, but again, we just recommend that students truly take everything into consideration before making that change.
Second question is, if I'm looking for information concerning how to apply for loans, where do I go and when should that start?
Okay, so financial aid. Financial aid is an important piece. Now, I will preface what I'm going to say with the academic side of the house and the financial side of the house are not very connected. And so I would recommend that the student visit the cashier's office for tuition and fee information and the Office of Financial Aid for any information about loans, scholarships. Those are going to be the appropriate folks to check out.
And both of those websites we'll find. I think they're both pretty easy.
Yes.
I think it's financial, ECU financial, and the other one may be cashier. But we'll find those. We're going to put Emily to work over here, so she'll find it for you. So, Corey, we got just a few minutes, and before we wrap up, I want to talk about just the support. I think, now I'm an ECU alum, many of you are ECU alum. I think we do orientation better than anybody in the country. I think we've heard that from reviews from people that come. What is it about what we do that makes the experience for Pirate Nation special for our incoming parents and students?
We're just awesome.
Yeah.
Other than that, but I think the amount of caring that goes into planning orientation, we're very, focused on what's best for the student, but also remembering what's best for the parent, and they have their own transition that they're going through, and we try to address that. We work very closely with the Office of Parent and Family Programs to make sure that our parents and family members are getting the support that they need. We also have really enthusiastic people here about Pirate Nation. I can share that I've been here since October of 2016. I've worked in a couple of their institutions in a couple of their states with orientation, and I have to say, from the moment I stepped on the campus and started working here, I felt like I was a member of Pirate Nation, even though I had been here less than 5 minutes. So that's what I think you'll see when you come here, is that people really care about one another. They really care about their students. They really care about the experience that they get here. And we have students that are so thankful to be here at ECU, and that goes out into the crowd. And you will see that during the welcome when they are singing the fight song and waving the no quarter flag, so you get to see part of our ECU traditions right away. I just think it's an amazing group of people that are here and that help us put on orientation every year, and we couldn't do it without them. So I'm shouting everybody that works with us, because without them we couldn't have this great program. But just the love of ECU and Purple and Gold and Pirate Nation, I think, is steps above anything I've ever seen anywhere else.
Yeah, and I don't think that's changed, right? I mean, I went to school here, it was like 1907 when I started. and still to this day,
It was a women's college.
that's why I think that. But there's a special pride that you really can't describe. I've run into people in the airport, on airplanes, on the beach in a different state, and you'll see a pirate hat or you'll see something, and it's really hard. It's kind of almost an intangible. You can't really put your finger on it. It's just something unique and special. Jeremiah, I want to ask you real quick about your experience as you've gone through this. The passion that you have for East Carolina University, gone up, I assume?
Absolutely. Like you just said, there's no words to describe this place, and it's not just me as a student, it's all of everyone else that you see on this panel, the people that work in the dining hall, the people that work in the bookstore. Everyone loves this place, and it is contagious, and I mean, there's nowhere to go but up. So I thought before she started talking, I would have a long spiel about ECU, but everything that she said that makes ECU in the orientation department and orientation as a whole so much better is everyone loves what they do and they love the school. So it's very easy to be better than other schools.
And I think when you come here too, like, you'll be surprised. You'll walk through, as once you become a student, and you'll go, oh my, that's the chancellor at the Starbucks truck
Yeah.
who's asking me how things are going.
Sure.
Or that's the provost or the vice chancellor who are interacting with me. Or if I have a question in orientation, I need somebody from advising, you're gonna actually see Stephen,
Right.
right? We're not gonna be hard to find, and,
Right.
and we come out in these large numbers. So I wanna begin to wrap up, so I'm gonna give everybody kind of one parting shot. I'll throw a question to you, but you can take it and go anywhere you want. So I'm gonna start with you, Jeremiah. Either advice, a tidbit, something in closing that from your perspective as a former student and now a part of the orientation staff, what's something folks need to take away?
Again, I said it earlier, but again, just show yourself a little grace. Orientation can and will be overwhelming. I really like the part that they said that even if you have a student that went here 2 years ago, or even if you're an alumni yourself, it is totally different than what it was even 2 years ago. So just show yourself some grace. It will be hot, it will be overwhelming, but we have a lot of great tools that will help you accommodate or make the accommodation a lot more easy.
Corey?
I think for me, it's okay to walk away. Lauren talked about this. You're gonna need a break. We joke that sometimes about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll just see parents sitting on a bench somewhere staring off into space, just like, oh my goodness, what just happened here? That's okay. Sometimes we see parents that are trying to get to everything. We have concurrent sessions. They're like, I didn't get to go to the computer recs and requirements because I had to go to student health and I missed all that information. As Emily Lynn said, presentations will be online. It's okay to call our office after orientation, after the semester starts, the semester of your child's sophomore year. It's fine. Call us. We're happy to answer your questions. So don't worry about being overwhelmed. Show that grace and just kind of forgive yourself if you don't get it all right there, because we will be there to help you afterwards as well.
Steve?
First, prepare. Prepare by looking at the guidebook. Prepare by visiting websites and looking into not just academic majors, but if a student wants to get involved and they want to be in the salsa dancing club, look into those things. All the things are accessible on ecu.edu. But if you prepare, you're going to have a little less anxiety when you walk in, check in, and then you're running.
Absolutely.
Which brings up comfortable shoes, comfortable clothes, umbrella, and purple. Gotta wear your purple.
Lauren?
Or gold.
Yes.
Or gold.
I mean, we don't discriminate.
Yeah.
Um,
You got both?
yeah, I would say be realistic, have realistic expectations of what you want out of this experience, and be okay with just stepping back and taking a deep breath. Find someone to help if you need help. There are a lot of us who are able to answer questions. We may not know the exact answer. We might be, I like to say I have just enough information to be dangerous, but not enough to be convincing. And so we can usually point you in the right direction and get you connected with someone who can answer more specifically. And if you have a question, write it down. And I mean, I'm telling you, there are so many afternoons at that parent's reception at the end of day 2 where we sit there and we just kind of have this laundry list of questions that we heard for the first time, or that, new stuff that we learned from what people asked us. And it's just, it's an exciting time. We are familiar and comfortable with our campus, but every time we get a question or a feedback from new and incoming parents and students, we get to experience what they're seeing on campus through their perspective. And so it really helps us to stay on top of what we need to work on as professionals and how we can make this experience as positive and as beneficial as possible.
Aaron?
I'm going to speak, ditto. I'm
Yeah,
going
we
to
gotta
speak.
be last, right?
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to speak to a little bit of the diversity at hand. I think to remember that you're all going to take it in different ways. We're perfectly comfortable with that. If you don't understand something, we will take the time to do that. Look for the folks here in this room. Look for the leadership that is going to be at all the events. They will go through. If your student has a special need, or you as a parent or a grandparent or a friend who's with that student at orientation has a special need, let us know what we can do to make that better. If you're in our dining halls and our residence halls, let us know how we can make you more comfortable. We want this to be, we know it's a stressful time. We know there's a lot going on, blah, 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 blah. But we also want to make sure that you're as comfortable as possible as a person who's a guest on our campus. And that goes into the fall as well. If there's something we can do to make your stay or your time here better or easier, let us know and we'll do the best we can to do that.
Emily Lynn?
So my last little tidbit or piece of advice would just be to remember that you are the primary source of support for your student, and we want that to continue. And the best way for you to support your student is to inform yourself and to stay engaged and connected with the university. So I really hope that you all kind of take the chance to soak in everything, and again, just reach out to our office, the Office of Parent and Family Programs, if you have questions or need to get plugged in or connected somewhere on campus.
So as we wrap up, I want to thank Jeremiah, Corey, Stephen, Lauren, Aaron, Emily Lynn, all for being here today and helping out. If you watched on live, we appreciate you adding questions and comments. If you're looking at the archived edition, you can still add comments. Emily Lynn's office will be kind of monitoring that. She's not the knowing of everything, but she also knows where to go for questions. So if you pose a question to her and she doesn't know, trust me, she's going to find out for you and we'll get back to you. Facebook, Twitter are all ways that most of these folks are engaged on social media. I think that's the key. Engagement is huge. Finding out where you fit. You're already a part of our family. As you come in here, you're a part of our family, but find out where you fit and you can make that experience even much more special. So thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you on campus.
Bye.